You guys, 2025 is not over. There is still so much time to work on healing your relationship with food, being comfortable with having foods in the house, challenging different trigger foods, quieting the food noise. And I know that seems impossible at this time of year because it's the holidays and there's so much food around and there are so many delicious foods and exciting foods and cookies and donuts and cakes and all of these different things. But let me tell you, you absolutely can do it. And I know that it's so easy at this time of year to be like, you know what? I'm just going to throw in the towel right now. I do not have the capacity to think about it. I'm just going to, eat whatever with food. I don't care. And I'm just going to wait until the new year, wait until 2026 to really work on this. And I will tell you right now, if that is the headspace that you are in, December is going to turn into a month-long binge bender. From someone who did that so many years in a row, December is going to turn into a month-long binge bender. And I know that there's a part of you that might think, because I used to think this, that, okay, well, maybe I need that. Maybe I need a month of binging just to get it out of my system so I feel so done with it that by the time 2026 happens, I'm so ready to dive into getting my food right. And I'm so ready to never do this again. But that doesn't happen. It's not just the calendar changing that instantly heals your relationship with food, especially if you never unpack what you are using food for in the first place, because binge eating isn't the problem, it is the symptom. And you keep binging because in a way you need it. So if we never figure out why you need it, just the calendar turning to 2026 isn't going to take that away. If anything, you're going to go into 2026 feeling so yucky because you've just come off of 4 weeks of binge eating. And then it feels like you're clawing yourself out of the trenches just to get to a place where you can start working on your goals. And that is absolutely not a fun place to be from somebody who has done that so many different times. So today, what we are going to talk about in this episode is how to approach this time of year, how to approach December when it's really easy to throw in the towel. It's really easy to say, I'll work on that after the holidays. I'll work on that when everything slows down, and really dive into this now, because as logical as that sounds, the reality is that life never slows down. And when you wait for a perfect time, you are just delaying. You're just delaying yourself from healing. You're delaying yourself from experiencing food freedom. You're delaying yourself from getting back into your life. And we don't do that here, right? We're diving into this now. So today, what I'm going to talk to you about is 3 different things that are really going to set you up for food being just easier in December. I don't want to say easy because I think that food at this time of year is just tough. Like, there's a lot of different reasons why food is tough at this time of year. So 3 different things that is going to make food easier for you right now so that you can actually go into 2026 feeling so much better around food and not start January 1st in the trenches where you wake up and it feels like you need to claw yourself out. You wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, a new day. Let me tackle all of these goals that I have. These are 3 things that I really go back to when life gets super chaotic. For those of you that have been with me for a while, you've probably heard me say that binge eating and food noise is something that you can fully recover from. It's not something that you can be immune to. So what I mean by that is, yes, you can absolutely get to a place where you're not binge eating ever. You can get to a place where you don't have the urge ever. You can get to a place where your food thoughts are normal. I don't say they are silent, because it's normal to think about food when you're hungry. It's normal to think about food when you're going out to eat. Like, there's a normal amount of thinking about food. So getting to a place where your food thoughts are relative into your life. However, that doesn't mean that you are immune to those coming back. It doesn't mean that you are immune to binge eating again. It doesn't mean that you are immune to the food thoughts again. And I think that that's what so many people forget. They get to a place where they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better around food. And then they start trickling back to the old behaviors that made them need the binge, or what created and fueled the food noise in the first place. And they're like, what the heck? Well, it's because binge eating is something that you can recover from. Food noise is something that you can quiet, but it's not something that you're going to be immune from. So these are the things that I always go back to when life gets chaotic, that has truly kept me binge free for over 8 years now. Before we get into that, if you are new here, welcome to our table. This is a place where we get to talk about all of the food and body things that so many people feel, but nobody ever really says. So pull up a chair, sit down with us, subscribe, introduce yourself to everybody else at the table in the comments below, and let's dive into this. The very first thing that I need to say before I give you these 3 things is that what I'm about to give you are tools. They are tools to help support you. They are tools to make your life easier. They are not rules. So if you take these and you turn them into, I am doing the right thing in December if I am following these 3 things, and I'm doing the wrong thing in December if I am not following these 3 things, or I am on track in December if I'm following these 3 things, and I'm off track if I'm not, you're keeping yourself in the same mindset that is creating so many of the issues around food to begin with. This is not a right and wrong. This is not an on track or off track. This is just, these are things that can make food easier for you if you don't do it all the time, if you don't have an opportunity to do it, if you literally just forget. Okay, that is so fine. We can just keep moving. No different than sometimes you are so tired and you don't want to shower. I'm going to be so real with you. I didn't last night. Did I say, oh my God, I'm such a failure? I am not going to shower until Monday. Absolutely not. I said I'm going to shower this morning after I take Charlotte to daycare, which is what I did, which was so lovely and nice because I got to take a shower alone without anyone interrupting me. So these are tools, not rules. Okay, ready, set, the very first one. And I know that I'm going to sound like a broken record, but that's because so many of you hear this and then don't do it because you think that it's not that important. You guys, it is so important. And that is eating every 3 to 4 waking hours. I know. Why do I need to do that? I'm not hungry every 3 to 4 waking hours. Why do I need to do that? I don't like eating breakfast. Here's why you need to do that. When your food is chaotic, when your food is all over the place, you need consistency and you need structure. You're not in a place where you can just listen to your body yet. You are not there yet because your body doesn't trust you yet, because you don't always have food coming in. And because when it tries to get your attention and tell you that it's hungry, you respond by saying it's not time yet, and you drink some coffee or a Diet Coke or chew some gum or push it out and distract yourself. And all of those things are telling your body, food is not here all the time. Food is not regularly available. So what happens? Your body amps up the food thoughts. And then when you do eat, it feels like you can't stop. You feel a lot more out of control. So with eating every 3 to 4 waking hours, what you are doing is showing your body that no matter what, consistent food is coming in. This is especially important at this time of year because schedules are all over the place. There are holiday parties, there are events, there are brunches, and I know how easy it is to be like, you know what? I have a brunch at 11, so I'm not going to eat breakfast, and then you have brunch at 11 and then you're like, well, I just consumed so many calories, I really shouldn't eat lunch, and then you end up not eating anything until like 7 o'clock and you're going these long gaps without eating. And then when you do eat, you're overly hungry and then you're just all over the place with food. So I want you to think about this as it is just creating the structure to keep your hunger level. So you're not going through these high highs and low lows with hunger, but also so your body knows that food is always coming in. I don't feel chaotic around food. There are a lot of reasons why I don't feel chaotic around food, but I will die on this hill. The way that I make it easier for myself is I don't let myself get overly hungry. There are times that it happens. It is rare because I know that when I do get overly hungry, it's a lot harder to be mindful. And it's a lot harder to slow down, and it's a lot easier to eat to a place that feels uncomfortably full, and I don't love that feeling. So by me making sure that I always have food coming in, it decreases the likelihood that I get to a place where I'm overly hungry. On the flip side, if you are in a place where you are binging, you are struggling with overeating, you're struggling with binge eating, you're struggling with emotional eating, and you eat larger quantities of food that feel comfortable in your body, And after that, you compensate by going this longer period of time without eating. You are just putting yourself back in that cycle, back in the cycle of binge restrict, binge restrict, binge restrict. I think so many people think restriction means dieting, and it absolutely can be, but restriction can also be you binged at night and then you didn't let yourself eat until lunch the next day. And maybe you weren't hungry. The problem is, though, is that when you continue to go through these gaps without eating, you are just reinforcing to your body that food isn't always coming in. I will also say that when you get to a place where you make eating every 3 to 4 waking hours a non-negotiable, and you have the urge to binge, and you tell yourself, no matter what I do with food right now, I am still going to be eating again in 3 to 4 hours, probably not going to get you to pause the first time. Probably not going to get you to pause the second time. But the third time, when you've been really consistent with that, you binge and you still ate 3 to 4 hours after that, you are going to pause, because you are going to remember that does not matter what I eat right now, I'm going to be eating again in 3 to 4 waking hours. So that is what I would call like the absolute baseline. Like when my clients are like, if I only could focus on one thing right now with food, what would it be? Eating every 3 to 4 waking hours. The next thing that is equally as important at this time of year is allowing yourself to have what you want, but also acknowledging that to keep yourself full, it is important to add what you need. So what I mean by that is, obviously, there are a lot of delicious foods going around right now. A lot of different Christmas treats, holiday snacks, like a lot of just fun food, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The thing is, though, that a lot of these different foods just aren't incredibly filling. And what I know is so easy to do is you think, well, I just consumed X amount of calories of a Christmas cookie that should have kept me full an extended period of time. Why am I hungry again? Because cookies, chips, crackers, holiday mixes, they're just not incredibly filling. So when you're using calories to justify whether or not you should be hungry, it's not really fair. So instead of saying, well, then I shouldn't have the Christmas cookie, no, that's silly, because then what's going to happen is you're not going to have the Christmas cookie. You're going to be thinking about the Christmas cookie, and then eventually you're going to cave and you're going to have 7 Christmas cookies. Instead, have the Christmas cookie, but just add something to it to make it a little bit more filling. Like have it with a latte, have it with a string cheese, have it with put it in a yogurt bowl, put it in a cottage cheese bowl, have it with some nuts. And if you don't want to do that, which is so fine, there are times where you're going to be like, F that, I just want to eat the cookie. You're allowed to eat the cookie. Don't judge yourself, though, if you're hungry again soon after, because you and I both know cookies, chips, crackers, those things just aren't very filling. And if you do need to get full, then you are going to eat significantly more to feel full, and it just might not keep you full for that long. That says nothing about you and your willpower. It just means that those foods aren't incredibly filling, and that's just that. That's just that. We don't need to make it mean more than that. So have what you want. Absolutely have what you want. Add what you need. This also goes for meals. What I see happening so often is that people are like, well, there's so much delicious food right now, and I just want to have the pumpkin bread, and maybe I'll just eat it for lunch. You are a human who does so many things throughout their day, and you need a filling, nourishing, satisfying meal to give yourself the appropriate amount of energy. So when I say have what you want, add what you need, sometimes what you also need is like a real freaking meal. Like a real true meal. So there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I am hungry. I want that banana bread right absolutely now. And I will say, okay, I have options. I can make myself a lunch and I can have the banana bread after the lunch. I can make myself lunch and have it with the lunch, or I can build a lunch around the banana bread. But again, I'm not going to expect a banana bread when I need lunch to do the job. Like, it's just not going to do the job. And then I'm not going to be mad at myself if I choose that, because we're adults, right? Like, we can choose to have whatever we want. To choose to have something like that for lunch or dinner when my body was really hungry and needed something a little bit more substantial, and it doesn't keep me full for that long. We needed a meal. Have what you want, add what you need, whether that is with a snack, adding something more to it to give it a little bit more staying power, but that also goes for meals as well. And the last thing that I have a lot of clients resist, and it's one of those things that's incredibly simple, but it's not easy, and it's really easy to dismiss, putting everything on a plate and sitting down when you eat. Especially at this time of year when everything is go, 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 go. And there are a lot of moving parts and there are so many things going on at one time. It's really easy to just pick and grab. And you're running out the door and you're eating your lunch and you're running to the next errand and you're shoving a snack in your mouth. And then, dinner, you're standing up at the table while your kids are eating. I completely understand as a mom to a toddler that you do not always get an opportunity to sit down with your food. When you do have an opportunity though, put your food on a plate, sit down at the table. Even if you say one meal a day, that is going to be something that I really prioritize and focus on. For those of you that are moms and know that that can happen when your kids take a nap and that can be lunch for you, let it be lunch. For those of you that have a really busy work schedule and you get a lunch break, seems like lunch might be the easiest for a lot of you to do that. If you're like throughout the day, that's just entirely impossible, I would challenge you a little bit on that. Is it impossible or is it uncomfortable? Is it impossible or is it just not a priority? Can you do it with a snack and maybe you're still in your car, but you are parked in your car eating the snack before you go on to the next thing? We can make it work. The point is you will notice how much quieter the food noise gets, how much the binge urges decrease when you are actually slowing down and eating your food. But what it also does is it gets you to be a little bit more present with your food. And when you're a little bit more present with your food, you are actually connecting to eating. Because when you're go, go, go all over the place, you might be eating, but it's not going to feel like it. Like the perfect example that I can give is, when you're reading a book and you get through the end of the page and you're like, I don't even remember what I just read. You read it. You went through that page. Literally happened to me last night. You went through the page and you're like, don't even know what I just read because your brain was somewhere else. Same thing going on here. Just see what happens. If you put your food on a plate, you sit down to eat it, just see. With these 3 different things, eating every 3 to 4 waking hours, having what you want, adding what you need, putting your food on a plate and sitting down, I want you to think of this time of year as setting yourself up for the new year. I know that you have big goals. I know that you have big plans. I know that you want to have a great year. It is the absolute worst feeling ever to go into the new year coming off of weeks and weeks of binging. It's also so unmotivating to go after your goals when the beginning of the year starts as you literally just pulling yourself out of the trenches. We all know what that feels like, and that sucks. So do not throw in the towel at this time of year. Do not say, I'm just going to work on this after the holidays. I'm going to work on this when things slow down. Things don't slow down. Also use this as an opportunity to show yourself that if you can work on healing your relationship with food and prioritize healing your relationship with food at the hardest time of the year, do you know how strong that's going to make you? Do you know how much faster things are going to change for you once we get out of this time of the year? So much. So do not stop. You absolutely can do this. Okay, so that wraps up the first part of our session at the table. The next part, what I've been doing is taking a video that you guys have tagged me in and unpacking it. So today I'm going to an older video, but I felt like this was a really good one just related to what we were just talking about. So let me play it and then I will share my thoughts.
If you have ever struggled with binge eating, I just wanted to share, I just had a moment. I looked in my pantry and it showed me how far I've come. We have chocolate bars, we have potato chips. Hang on. I have Sweet Lorenz cookies, I have ice cream sandwiches, and they've been there for a very long time. And if you've ever struggled with binge eating, you know that seems impossible when you're deep in the depths of struggling with it. I'm really hungry and I'm making dinner. I've already had some fruit today. I've had some yogurt, which are kind of my go-tos while I'm making dinner. So I decided to put some potato chips in a little bowl, and I'm not going to think twice about eating those. And that is huge for me. I don't need to sit here and eat the whole bag, because guess what? I can have them all tomorrow. I can have, not all, I can have some tomorrow. I can have some potato chips every single day. They're not going anywhere. There is a lot that has helped me get here, but I just wanted to share in case you're struggling with it and you just feel like you're never going to get to that point. Put in the work and the deep work, and you can get there.
I love that video so much because it just offers so much hope. The thing that I really want to double click on that she says at the end, even though this might feel like it's impossible, if you put in the deep work, you will get there. I know for so many years, I thought that if I just wanted to stop binge eating enough, it would happen. If I just wanted to stop doing these things with food enough, then I would stop doing them. But the reality is that you don't repeat behaviors that aren't benefiting you in some way. You don't binge eat just because you love food. The binges are doing something for you. So if you never do that deep work to figure out what they are doing for you, why you need them, you're not just going to wake up January 1st and all of a sudden not binge anymore. And I seriously thought for so many years that if I just wanted it enough, if I just had a blank slate, if I just had a new year, a fresh calendar, a new journal, and I said, this is the year that I'm not going to do this anymore because I really want it this year. Wanting it is obviously so important. That's not going to be the thing that changes you, though. Her ability to have chips like that and say, you know what, I can have some chips before dinner. I can leave the bag here and I know they're not going away. You know why she can do that? Because she's been eating chips often. She's been practicing. And not only has she been practicing eating the chips, she's been practicing working on her thoughts as she's eating the chips. She's been practicing creating safety around the chips. All those other foods like the chocolate chips and the ice cream sandwiches, those as well. She didn't just wake up one day and think, these aren't that big of a deal. It took practice. It took safety. It took getting comfortable with those foods to get to a place where she can have them in the house and they're not a big deal. I know that there are so many people that come to me and there are so many people in my comment section that are like, I don't need these things though. I don't need chips. I don't need chocolate chips. I don't need ice cream. So I'm just not going to buy them. Like that just feels easier. In a way, it feels easier because you're avoiding having to face the food head on. But the reality is that you can't avoid food forever. You're going to go to other people's houses and they're going to have chips and they're going to have ice cream. You're going to go to parties and there is going to be chips on the table. You're going to go to events and there are going to be chocolate chips, cookies, crackers, all the things that you have told yourself, I'm just not going to buy, and that's just going to make everything easier. That's going to happen then. And then you know what's going to happen? Because you're not around all those foods all the time, they're going to consume you at those events that actually are the point, right? All of these beautiful, amazing experiences and memories that you want to be a part of, but you just can't because the food is taking all of your attention. When you do the deep work, just like she said, to heal your relationship with food, to unpack what you are using the food for, why you need the food, you don't have to white knuckle it anymore. You don't have to control it. You don't need to not buy it. You get to be around food like that and it's not a big deal. And even if you feel like I am the one person that is never going to be able to do that, there is nothing specific about you that says that you are the one person that is not going to be able to do this. There is nothing specific about you as a human being that says you are the exception to this. You're not. You're not. You're also not the exception that this is just going to happen without you doing the deep work. Okay? Just going to say that because for a long time I thought that I could be the exception to that. And, I just wasn't. I see a lot of people who think that maybe they can be the exception to doing the work, it's just not gonna happen. You got to do the deep work, but when you do the deep work, you get that. So anyways, that was just such a great video. All right, now let's move into our last segment and have a little coffee chat and get caught up on all of the things. The very first thing that I have to say is that I posted a video this last week after having a really, really tough day. It's actually been a tough couple of weeks with my daughter, and just sharing how I take care of myself after a morning like that. And the amount of love that you guys gave me, it absolutely meant so, so much. And our community and our space here is just so supportive, and it means the world. I see all of your comments and I see all of your DMs, and it just meant a lot that I could post a vulnerable video like that and get support like that when I went back and forth on whether or not I was going to share that. But I was like, you know what? I wish that I could see more videos of, not that I want other moms to struggle, but I know that other moms are struggling and no one really shares that part. And so when you're struggling, it's just like food, right? When you're struggling, it feels like you're the only person that feels this way, and it can feel so alone when it's like, yes, information helps, and yes, talking about it helps, but sometimes what you really just need is knowing that somebody else feels the exact same way, and somebody else has also been in your shoes, or somebody else is right there with you. I don't know. It just makes me feel seen on a different level. So I just had to say thank you for that. I am okay. There's nothing wrong. I just have an extremely, extremely strong-willed 2-year-old, and things have been tense in my house because of it. And it's been hard to navigate what is the right thing. What am I supposed to do? Is there something wrong? Like all of the normal mom fears. And it's also really hard when she only acts this way around me or when I'm around. And all of the articles and all of the research say that it's because I'm her safe space, and I logically know that. It feels like shit though when she is so happy and so quote unquote easy, nuance with that word, but quote unquote easy with other people, and then I'm around and everything just feels hard. So I was just having a moment. But what I do want you to take away from that reel, if anything, is that taking care of yourself can be big things like going on vacation, getting a pedicure, taking the afternoon off, but it doesn't have to be. Doing a 30-minute reset, like going outside for a 10-minute walk. Like in that video, I did not go for an hour walk. I literally went outside for 10 minutes to walk Jack, coming back, eating something. I wanted a muffin. That sounded really good. I was also hungry, which is why I added that cottage cheese. Not a rule. I could have just had the muffin. I also don't want to be thinking about food soon after. I have a lot of things to do. So it was like, I'll just add the cottage cheese, enjoy that, put it on a plate. I sat down and I let myself just enjoy my food, have that. There's something about just taking a shower and changing out of whatever it is that you're wearing, even if you're not dirty. There's something about just like shower, new clothes that I feel like just refreshes me on a different level. Putting on a little makeup, getting dressed. And it's not that all those things take everything away, and it's not that all of those things automatically make you feel 100% better. But what I always think of it as is that it is, in a way, a reset. It gets me to a place where I am at -10 and it brings me back to 0. It gets me to a place where I feel like I can keep moving on to the next thing, because when I don't do that, or when I see other clients not doing that, what happens, and what happened to me for so many years, is you get to a point where all of these things build and build and build and build and build, and then you do need a release. And what is the fastest release, or what is the fastest way to numb and turn everything off? Food. The food is not the problem. Getting yourself to a place where you need that escape, you need that numbing, is the problem. You don't need a massive overhaul to change that. It can be something as simple as 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes of just, okay, everything's going to be okay. Or maybe it's not going to be okay right now, but even if it's not okay right now, I am safe. Right now, I am safe. In that moment, what I was doing was showing my body that even though we just came out of a space of extreme distress, I am still safe. Anyways, if you guys have any tips on the mommy phase, not wanting anybody else but mommy, hitting, biting, throwing, I will take all of them. I just so appreciate you guys, and that is all I have for us today. I hope you are having an amazing week, and I will see you soon. Bye.